In this video, we'll take a look at what the Assignments and Mapping tab does and how it works on the concert, set, and patch level. Now, in the previous videos, we looked at how to create patches with splits and layers, but we didn't actually look at how to link any of the elements on screen up with our hardware. Having a controller isn't much good if we don't really have any control over anything other than note input. So if I move the controls on my keyboard right now, you can see them moving on the screen, but they're not tethered to any particular function. Well, that's where the Assignments and Mapping tab comes into play. We now need to tell Mainstage what we want those hardware controls to do. We also talked about the hierarchy of the concert, set, and patch levels in the previous video. That hierarchy comes into play here. We can have assignments and mappings that carry over the entire concert and all the way down to the patch level if we like. So let's check out the Assignments and Mappings tab. I'm going to select my concert, and then select the Assignments and Mappings tab. The left-handmost column is the assignments. This is going to show us what the MIDI message from our hardware to Mainstage is when we assigned it. The screen control column shows us the screen control from the hardware assignment, and the mapping column shows us the mapping for those controls. A practical application for this would be setting up a multi-layered patch, and we need to control the levels of each layer with faders on our keyboard. So let me show you how to set that up. Let's go down to the patch level. First, each of these assignments has a MIDI activity light, so I can quickly find out which controller it is that I'm moving and assign it. I want to be able to adjust the two layers in this patch with the first two faders on my keyboard. So if I move the first fader on my keyboard, I can now find where it is on the screen, and then I can select it. So now that my fader's selected, the first way to map this would be to select the layer down here, and in the foldout select volume. Now my fader will move accordingly. So let me select my second fader, and I'll show you an easier way to do it. I'm going to click on the map parameter, and now that's selected, I'm going to move the fader on the channel strip with my mouse. This will tell it to link up that fader with this one. We can actually take it one step further, so I'm going to select a knob I want to assign, and then I'm going to select Assign and Map, and then I can move the parameter on the channel strip. Now I can move on to another knob and select that as well. And the Assign and Map button will stay lit until I select it. I also have some other options down here that I can use. I can choose the default parameter value here if I want to, or I could also set it so the full throw of my controller would only bring the fader up to 6 dB, or as little as whatever I set it to. I can also invert the motion of the fader by clicking here. I could also map the mute and solo buttons that are directly below my faders if I wanted to, so I'm going to choose a button on my controller, and I'm pressing the button here and you can see the MIDI activity is lighting up, and then I'm going to select Assign and Map, and then I'm going to choose the mute button on the fader. What about everything else in the channel strip? Well, everything else can be assigned this way as well, so let's take two more examples here. My channel strip has a tape delay on it, and if I want to bypass it, I can choose a button, then I can select Map Parameter, and then select Tape Delay. Now I can engage it or bypass it using that button. So I've been working on the patch level with the assignment so far, but what about the concert and set levels? Well, my main reverb for my concert is on the concert level, and it's on an aux track. And there may be times when I want to dial that in forward or backward. So I'm at that patch with that bus, and I'm going to choose a knob, and then I'm going to choose Map Parameter, and then move this parameter on the channel strip as well. And you can see now it's properly been assigned. So I only have so many knobs and sliders on my controller, and when I do something on the concert level, I'm basically handing over that knob to perform that one function for the entire rest of the concert. Well, that's only partially true. I'm going to go to the concert level and select a fader that will control the level of an aux track. So right now, fader 8 is controlling this aux track. If I go back down to the patch level and try and assign that fader, I only have one option, and that's to override concert mapping. And as soon as I do that, I have the options to reassign it. Now I'm able to assign that fader to whatever I want. If I moved on to another patch after that, this fader would then resume its concert level assignment. Next, I'm going to show you how to assign a parameter to a plugin, and it's really the same method we've been doing. So at the patch level, go over to the Assignments and Mappings tab, and then open up your plugin, In this case, I'm using Vintage B3. Then I'm going to find the fader that I want to assign. I'm going to select Assign and Map. And then I'm going to move the drawbar on the screen. Now if I move my fader on my keyboard, you can see it's properly assigned, and I could go through and do this for every drawbar here. Lastly, let's assign 2 hardware buttons to scroll through patches. I'm going to pick a hardware button on the concert level, and the first one will be this one here. And then I'm going to go over to Actions. Under Actions, I'm going to choose Next Patch. Now I'm going to choose my next button, which is right here. I'm going to go to Actions, and then I'm going to select Previous Patch. So now I can use those 2 buttons and easily scroll through patches. So that wraps up this video on assignments and mappings. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.